My brother stole my inheritance after I paid for his education, so I took legal action and left him regretting every single decision. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and for most of my life, I've been the one holding my family together. My father passed away when I was 12, and from that day on, it felt like someone had to step up, so I did. My mom tried her best, juggling 2 jobs and endless bills. But the weight of everything always seemed to land on my shoulders. Then there was my younger brother, Adam. He was the golden child. Charming, funny, the kind of kid teachers adored even when he turned in his homework late. Mom always said he had so much potential, like that word alone could excuse the fact that he'd never followed through on anything. I'd hear her say, he just needs time to find himself while I was out mowing lawns. Working part-time shifts and figuring out how to stretch a $20 grocery budget. I didn't resent it back then. I told myself that family means sacrifice, that maybe some people were born to carry more weight than others. I picked up every odd job I could through college, paying rent, covering our utilities, and making sure Adam had what he needed for school. He was still in high school then. I wanted him to have the chances I did. There were nights when I'd get home exhausted, my hands aching from warehouse shifts, and I'd find Adam laughing with friends in the living room. I'd tell myself it was fine, that I was investing in his future. By 29, things finally looked up. I had a solid job, a small apartment, and some savings. For the first time, I felt proud, not just for surviving, but for building something from nothing. And when Adam told me he wanted to go to college, I didn't hesitate for a second. I thought, this is what family is all about. But that belief. It would cost me more than I ever imagined. When Adam got accepted into college, it felt like a victory for both of us. I remember the excitement in his voice when he called, shouting, "Bro, I did it." I was proud, genuinely proud, like every late-night shift and missed weekend had finally meant something. I told him, you focus on your studies. I'll handle the rest. And I meant it. I worked extra hours, took freelance projects on the side, and even cashed out part of my savings to cover his tuition deposit. Mom couldn't afford much, but she kept saying, "You're such a good brother. Adam's lucky to have you." I'd smile and say, "We're all lucky to have each other." I believed that. I wanted to believe that. At first, Adam seemed grateful. He called every few days, talked about his classes, sent me pictures of campus life. But slowly, the updates turned into requests. "Hey, can you send a bit more for books? My laptop broke. Can you cover it? The rent here's higher than expected." I didn't think twice. I sent money whenever he asked, convincing myself it was an investment in his future. Then came the Instagram posts, expensive sneakers, club nights, weekends at beach houses. I tried not to jump to conclusions. When I asked, he laughed it off. "Relax, bro. My roommate's family's loaded. I'm just tagging along." Something in his tone, though, felt off. Mom brushed it aside when I mentioned it. "He's just enjoying college life. Let him have fun. You worked too hard not to let him live a little." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was just being controlling. But one night, as I scrolled through his stories, I saw a clip of him bragging bottle service. Designer clothes captioned, "Hard work pays off." I remember staring at the screen, my chest tightening. Whose hard work was he talking about? By the time Adam graduated, I was expecting at least a hint of gratitude, maybe a simple thank you, or a promise to start paying me back. Instead, he moved back home and complained about how depressing it was to live in our old neighborhood. He said he needed time to find a job. So I covered his car payments and phone bill just until he got on his feet. Weeks turned into months. Every time I brought it up, he had an excuse. The job market sucks, or they're just waiting to call me back. But then, small things started feeling off. He'd show up wearing new shoes, flashing a new watch. One day, I caught a glimpse of a luxury credit card when he pulled out his wallet, the kind I could never qualify for. "Adam," I asked casually one night, "where's all this coming from? You said you were broke." He leaned back on the couch, smirking. "Relax, bro. You think I'm some kind of bum? I've got money moves you wouldn't understand." The arrogance in his tone stung. He was living under my roof, eating my food, using my car, and now acting like he was above me. That night I couldn't sleep. Something about his confidence didn't sit right. I got up and checked my email. An old notification from the bank caught my eye. It mentioned our father's estate account, the one that had been dormant for years. Curious, I logged in, and my stomach dropped. There were recent withdrawals, large ones made under Adam's name. At first I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe Mom gave him access. Maybe it was something official. But deep down I knew. The money Dad left us, the inheritance we were supposed to share, equally someday. Adam had already started taking his half, and mine too. I sat there in the dark, staring at the numbers, realizing for the first time. I didn't really know my brother at all. The next morning I drove straight to Mom's house. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles went white. I told myself to stay calm, to ask questions before jumping to conclusions. When I arrived, Adam was already there, lounging at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone like he didn't have a care in the world. "Mom," I said, trying to steady my voice, "did you give Adam access to Dad's inheritance account?" She looked up, surprised. "Oh, honey, yes. He said he needed to move some things around for tax purposes. He's better with that financial stuff than I am." I felt the room tilt. Adam didn't even flinch. He just leaned back, wearing that same smug grin I'd seen too many times before. "Tax purposes?" I repeated, my tone sharper. "Mom, he's been withdrawing money, a lot of it. Thousands," Adam scoffed. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." "I was just reorganizing things. You wouldn't understand, you've never been good with numbers." My voice cracked. "That's not your money, Adam. It was supposed to be split equally when you turned 25. He stood, towering over me, his face suddenly cold. "Yeah, well, maybe Dad didn't mean equal. Maybe he knew which of us would actually do something with it." The silence that followed was suffocating. Mom's eyes darted between us, panic setting in. "Stop it, both of you. We're family." But I couldn't look away from him. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was theft. My father's final gift, the safety net he left us, was gone. I left before I said something I'd regret. But as I stepped outside, I made a quiet promise to myself. If Adam thought he could take what wasn't his and get away with it, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. I just didn't realize yet how deep his lies went, or how far my own family would go to protect him. That night, I couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed nonstop. Mom, Aunt Lisa, even my cousin David, all telling me to take it easy on Adam. By morning, the story had twisted beyond recognition. Apparently, I was the greedy one, trying to take back money that belonged to both of us. When I stopped by Mom's again to explain, she wouldn't even meet my eyes. "Honey," she said softly, "Adam didn't mean any harm. He told me you've been struggling financially and he just wanted to help handle things for a while." I felt my chest tighten. "Handle things?" "He emptied the account." "Mom, that's not help. That's theft." Her face hardened. "Don't use that word in this house. He's your brother. You're making this bigger than it needs to be." I laughed bitterly. "You're right. It's not big. It's everything Dad left us. Everything he worked for." Adam stepped into the room, feigning calm. "You're blowing this out of proportion, man. I just moved the funds to a better account. You'd understand if you weren't so paranoid." I could see it in his eyes, the arrogance, the belief that Mom would always take his side. And she did. Every word out of my mouth bounced off the wall of her denial. "I'm done arguing," I finally said. "Just show me proof. Transfer statements, balances, anything." He grinned. "Sure, when you learn to talk to me with some respect." That was it. The mask was gone. He wasn't scared. He was daring me. I walked out before my anger could explode. The cool air outside felt like the only honest thing left in my life by the time I got home. One thought burned through my mind. If my family was too blind to see the truth, I'd show them, even if it meant standing alone against all of them, for days. I replayed that confrontation in my head. Mom's disappointment, Adam's smug grin, my own helplessness. It felt like I was losing my mind. Every instinct told me to drop it, to protect the family peace. But every time I looked at my father's old photo on my desk, That promise I made to him as a kid to protect what he left behind came roaring back. So, I called my friend Marcus, who worked as a junior attorney. We met at a diner after work, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. I laid everything out: the inheritance, the withdrawals, the forged signatures. Marcus listened quietly, his expression growing darker by the minute. "Man," he finally said, setting down his mug, "your brother didn't just mess up paperwork. He committed embezzlement. That's a serious crime." I froze. The word crime hit me like a punch. Until that moment, I still wanted to believe Adam was just careless, not calculated. "Are you sure?" I asked quietly. Marcus nodded. "You've got the statements, right? Keep them. Don't confront him again. You need documentation. All of it. If you go legal, you'll need to prove intent." The drive home felt heavy. The idea of taking legal action against my own brother made my stomach churn. But as I pulled into my apartment complex, I saw the overdue rent notice taped to my door. I thought about how I'd spent years sacrificing every dollar to help him, and how he'd thanked me by stealing what little safety I had left that night. I started gathering everything: emails, bank records, text messages, and as the evidence piled up, so did my resolve. If Adam wanted to play games with money that wasn't his, fine. But this time, just be the one writing the rules, and he wouldn't see it coming. By the time I had everything compiled, bank records, account transfers, and Marcus's legal notes, I barely recognized the person staring back at me in the mirror. The tired older brother was gone. What remained was someone who'd stopped mistaking silence for peace. I decided to give Adam one last chance before filing anything official. He deserved the opportunity to come clean, even if I already knew he wouldn't. When I showed up at Mom's house, she looked nervous. "Please, don't start another fight," she whispered as I stepped through the door. Adam was on the couch, TV remote in hand, looking bored. "We need to talk," I said, dropping a folder on the coffee table. "Those are bank statements. Every transaction from Dad's account." He didn't even glance down. "You really went digging through my business?" "You've lost it, man. It's our business," I shot back. "You took my share, Adam. You forged Mom's signature. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's fraud." He stood scoffing. "You wouldn't dare go to the cops. You'd ruin Mom's life, drag the family name through the dirt. You're too responsible for that." I held a stare. "You already did that for me." Something shifted in his expression, a flicker of doubt, then anger. "You think you're better than me?" "You've always looked down on me." I stepped closer, voice low but steady. "I think I've been cleaning up your messes for too long," he sneered, trying to sound unbothered. "Do what you want. You'll regret it." 3 days later, he found out I wasn't bluffing. When the legal notice arrived, he stormed into my workplace red-faced, shouting so loud everyone turned to look. "You've destroyed me." He yelled across the lobby. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him and thought, "No, Adam, you destroyed yourself." The day after Adam's public meltdown, my phone blew up again. Dozens of missed calls from family members who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly wanted to weigh in. Aunt Lisa accused me of humiliating my brother. Mom left tearful voicemails begging me to just drop it before it ruins us all. And Adam went online. He posted a long, self-pitying rant about how his jealous brother was trying to destroy him over a misunderstanding. Screenshots of our childhood photos, emotional captions about family betrayal. The comments were flooded with sympathy. Old friends messaged me saying, "Man, what's going on? You two always seemed so close." It was surreal watching him spin his theft into a sob story for likes. But Marcus kept me grounded. "Don't take the bait," he warned. "The truth's on your side. Let the case speak for itself." Still, it ate away at me. Walking into work, I could feel eyes on me. My boss pulled me aside. "Everything okay at home?" "Someone called asking about your legal trouble." My stomach twisted. Adam was trying to sabotage my job now. Meanwhile, Mom's health started slipping from the stress. I tried visiting her, but she refused to open the door. "I can't choose between my sons," she said through tears. "Please, just let it go." But I couldn't. Not anymore. Not after watching Adam weaponize her guilt and turn me into the villain. Then Marcus called. "We found something." His tone was tight, serious. "One of the bank documents you sent me, the signature on the withdrawal form. It's not your mother's. It's forged. Sloppy job, too." The handwriting expert confirmed it. For a moment, everything went quiet. The anger, the chaos, all of it sharpened into clarity. Adam hadn't just stolen from me. He'd forged Mom's name. He'd used her trust as his weapon. And this time, the law would finally see him for who he really was. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Even with the new evidence, the emotional toll was crushing. Every family member I once leaned on now treated me like an outsider. Group chats went silent. Invitations stopped coming. Thanksgiving was canceled to avoid tension. I'd sit in my apartment at night, surrounded by boxes of paperwork, legal notices, financial records, and old family photos I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Every image of Adam smiling beside me felt like a lie. The guilt crept in slowly, whispering that maybe Mom was right, maybe I'd gone too far. One night I drove by her house. The lights were off except for the small lamp in her living room. I could see her silhouette by the window, rocking slowly in her chair. I almost knocked, but I couldn't. "The last time we spoke," she said, "you've torn this family apart, and for what? Money." That sentence replayed in my head over and over. I wasn't fighting for greed, I was fighting for respect, for fairness, for the years of sacrifice that everyone had conveniently forgotten. But sitting there, alone in the car, I started to wonder if justice was worth the cost of being unloved. Even Marcus noticed the change. "You look exhausted," he said one evening, as we reviewed the court filings. "You don't have to carry this alone." But I did. It felt like I always had. When I got home that night, the apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the lawsuit paperwork. My hands trembled as I whispered, "Maybe I should just end this." But then my eyes landed on an old photo of Dad, grease-stained hands. Warm smile, the man who taught me what integrity meant. And in that quiet moment, I realized I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when the truth was finally within reach. A few weeks later, Marcus called me into his office with a tone I hadn't heard before, urgent but strangely calm. "You might want to sit down for this," he said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside were fresh statements, newly subpoenaed from the bank at first. I thought it was more of the same Adam's usual transactions and forged transfers, but then my eyes caught a different account number, one tied directly to my mother's retirement fund. The withdrawals matched Adam's patterns almost perfectly. My heart started pounding. "You're telling me he stole from her too?" I asked, my voice cracking. Marcus nodded grimly. "She probably doesn't even know. He used the same fake signature, same routing path. It's all there." I felt my throat tighten. The anger I'd been carrying for months suddenly turned into something colder, grief. Adam hadn't just betrayed me. He'd drained Mom's savings, the money she'd worked double shifts for. The fund that was supposed to keep her safe in old age. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. "This changes everything. Once your mom knows, the case won't just be you versus Adam. It'll be family fraud. She'll have to testify." That night I went to see her. She looked frail, smaller somehow, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. When I laid the documents in front of her, she frowned at first, then her face crumpled. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "He wouldn't do that to me. Not Adam." "Mom," I said softly, "he already did." She covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. Oh my God, what have I done? I wanted to comfort her, but part of me couldn't move. Watching her finally see the truth felt like watching our entire family collapse in slow motion. And as she wept, I knew there was no turning back now. The trial felt like stepping into a nightmare that finally had walls. Months of evidence, testimonies, and sleepless nights, all condensed into one cold, fluorescent courtroom. Adam sat a few seats away from me, wearing a cheap suit and that same defiant look he'd always used to get out of trouble. But this time, his charm didn't work here. The judge didn't smile. The attorneys didn't buy the act. Mom was called to testify first. Her voice trembled as she spoke about trusting Adam with the inheritance and the retirement account. I watched her clutch the same old photograph of Dad that she kept in her purse like it was the only thing holding her together. When the prosecutor presented the forged documents and her signature analysis, Adam's face went pale. For the first time, I saw fear replace arrogance. My turn came next. I told the court everything, the years of support, the loans, the promises, the betrayal. My voice shook, but I didn't hold back. I wasn't trying to destroy my brother, I said. I was trying to stop him from destroying everything our father built. When the verdict was read, the air in the courtroom went still. Guilty. Multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. He was ordered to repay every cent. Along with penalties and legal fees, Adam stared at me as they let him out, his jaw tight, eyes burning with disbelief. "You did this," he hissed. I looked him in the eye and replied quietly, "No, Adam, you did this." Outside, Mom stood beside me, silent. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the courthouse steps. She reached for my hand and whispered, "I'm so sorry." For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger, just exhaustion and a strange, hollow kind of peace. But deep down, I knew the real closure hadn't come yet. Not until I built something he could never touch again. It's been a year since the verdict, and life feels quieter now, not easier, but cleaner. I used my restored inheritance, along with years of savings, to buy a small home on the edge of town. It's nothing extravagant, just a modest place with a creaking porch and a workshop out back. Funny enough, it's the same type of home my dad used to talk about retiring in someday. Every time I walk through it, I feel like I finally kept that promise to him. Mom visits on weekends now. Things between us are different. Fragile, but honest. We don't pretend anymore. Sometimes we sit in silence, both of us still mourning the family we thought we had. She still blames herself for trusting Adam. But I tell her the truth. He made his own choices, Mom. None of this was your fault. Adam, on the other hand, tried to reach out after his sentencing. His first message was short. "I've changed. I'm sorry." The next was longer, full of excuses and self-pity. I didn't reply. I couldn't. The old me would have tried to fix him, to rebuild what he broke. But I've learned some things can't be repaired, and some people don't want to be. Instead, I focused on rebuilding myself. I took night classes in financial planning, started volunteering at a youth program that helps kids from single-parent homes. Every lesson I teach them about honesty, work, and boundaries feels like a way of reclaiming what Adam tried to steal, not just money, but purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I stood in the doorway of my workshop, hands still dusty from rebuilding an old desk that once belonged to Dad. I caught my reflection in the window, tired, older, but steady. And in that moment, I realized something. Revenge had never been about destroying Adam. It was about freeing myself from the cycle of carrying everyone else's. Wait, sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's living a life they can never ruin again.